So our final speaker is Jenn Pfenning. She is a family owner and the Director of Human Resources, Marketing and Operations at Pfenning's Organic Farm in New Hamburg, Ontario. Jenn enjoys working alongside local and migrant workers to produce food that serves her passion for healthy living, food justice, and strong community. Jenn is an active participant in boards and committees. She is the past president of the National Farmers Union Local 340, Waterloo, Wellington, and served on the Food Chair Toronto Board of Directors for 7 years. She also served on the Waterloo Region Food System Roundtable and is the past president of the Organic Council of Ontario. Presently, Jenn is the Canadian representative on the Migration Collective of the International Peasant Movement La Via Campesina and chair of the NFU Migrant Worker Subcommittee. Jenn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joan. And thank you to everybody for being here. Really enjoying the comments and the chats and phenomenal presentations. I don't have a slideshow for you today. I'm just going to be talking, so you're going to be stuck with my face. What I want to talk about is farm labor, and I really appreciated a lot of the points that Brendan made in his presentation, because they really fit well with what I want to talk about. So, as mentioned, I'm the chair of the Migrant Worker Subcommittee, and that committee is responsible for us as an organization, supporting the call from migrant workers to afford them status on arrival. And there's a lot of ambiguity or not understanding, not wide understanding of that statement. So today I want to talk about what that means and my vision. At convention a year ago, we were presented with an excellent report called Tackling the Farm Crisis and the Climate Crisis. It outlines what many of us have known for a long time to be true, that farming is a vital source of economic activity that drives profit, but is not in itself a significantly profitable business. This graph was taken from that report that I mentioned, and it really has stuck in my head. I haven't been able to get this image out of my head since I saw it last year. So gross farm revenue and realized net income, net of government subsidies. We're not doing so well as an industry. And, you know, I think everybody knows, we know that, but having these numbers really illustrated it to me in such a profound way that I can't get it out of my head. I believe a key part of the equation to why this is true is our approach to labor. Many articles have been written about the injustices, mistreatment, and vulnerability of the women and men who come to our country on the migrant worker program. And those reports are true, they're accurate, and that reality is a blight on our collective conscience as a country. But those injustices and that particular situation is not what I want to talk about today. For over 50 years, we've had a system that imports workers like a commodity and assigns them a precarious status with low value. They're labeled low skill. That's literally what the stream of the program is called in our immigration system, low skill. I want to talk about what could be if that were not the case. If the problem is real, and we know it is, how do we fix it? Bear with me briefly as I touch on the global context. People are on the move around the globe in search of employment. It's about the need for workers in countries like ours and virtually every other so-called developed or first world or Western, whatever the global north. It's being driven by continuing inequities between colonial powers and former colonies. And it's being exacerbated by global climate change. All of those give rise to violence and poverty that drives people to leave their homes, leave their families, and seek work elsewhere in places like Canada. As we think about ourselves in the global context, we have to stop comparing our system to migrant work programs in other countries and start considering the profound impacts that these programs collectively have on our world. Instead, we must consider what a just system looks like. What would it look like if our immigration policies and system were written with that in mind instead? Today, our system creates vulnerabilities. It leaves children without their parents for much of their lives. In the countries that these workers come from, there are children who grow up from birth to adulthood, and one or both of their parents are gone for 8 months or years at a time, leaving them to be raised by other family members, which can be wonderful, but it isn't a substitute for the social fabric of parents being with their children. I believe that our system has been artificially depressing the value of farm labor in this country since its inception. And that's over 50 years. It's a long time to have that kind of an impact. So what do we do? The theme is vision into action. I want to share my vision, my dream. Imagine our immigration system specifically recognizing the vital skills that are required to produce the food that sustains us. And Brendan, you made some really great points about just how farming is so vital. And people are recognizing that more because of the pandemic right now. So I think we have an opportunity in this moment. Imagine, instead of being labeled as low skilled, the people willing to come to Canada and work with us to grow and harvest food would be recognized as having essential skills. They would have full residence status on arrival. They already pass health and security screenings to be allowed to come here for even a few months. That status would enable them to bring their families, feel respected and valued, and live a more dignified life. This structural change in the way we bring people into Canada and onto Canadian farms would have a deep impact on the overall labor market and social perceptions of farm labor. It will help to build respect for the work that we all do as farmers to bring the harvest in. Again, the theme is vision into action. So here's the action. Support the NFU's resolution to call for status on arrival by writing to your MP. Join one of the solidarity groups such as the Migrant Workers Alliance for Change. We always call it MWAC, and I always forget what it stands for. But join one of those groups to support migrant workers' ability to speak up for themselves. And vote with your dollar every time you shop. Buying local, we all should be buying local, but we should also be asking questions about how that food is produced locally. And we should be making connections with the people who actually do the work. You know, there are a lot of farms that employ migrant workers, but you never see a migrant worker as part of their social image. You never see those workers as the face of the company. You never see them as the face of the people who are actually growing that food, packing that food, harvesting that food, preparing it for Canadian tables. We have to connect, because the situation for migrant workers impacts all of us. And if we continue to not talk about it, to not advocate for their rights, we are actually undermining our own rights. We're undermining the way that we farm. We're undermining the value of what each and every day. So we need to step up. Thank you.